So there's this huge battle brewing in Hollywood, but it's not the kind you see in the movies. This isn't hero versus villain. This is some of the most iconic characters ever created versus artificial intelligence. We're talking about major studios taking a powerful AI image generator to court in a fight that could completely rewrite the rules for the future of creativity.
So you see this headline, right? Warner Bros. Suing an AI company over Superman. And you might think, okay, big company protecting its stuff, what's new? But trust me, this is way bigger than that. This lawsuit is a massive showdown that's going to test the very limits of copyright law in an age where a machine can create art. All right, let's dive into Section 1. Hollywood declares war on AI. We're going to break down who's suing who and why they're so fired up about this. And Warner Bros. Is definitely not going into this fight alone. We're talking Disney, we're talking Universal. I mean, look at that list. Superman, Star Wars, The Simpsons, The Hulk. It's like the Avengers of intellectual property, and they've all teamed up to take on one of the most popular AI image generators out there, Midjourney.
So what's the core of their argument? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The studios are saying that Midjourney's AI is basically a high-tech machine for making illegal knockoffs. They claim it lets anyone with a subscription just type in a character's name and crank out an endless supply of unauthorized images.
And they're not just making vague claims here, they're getting down to the nitty-gritty. They're literally pointing to things like the exact shade of Scooby-Doo's collar and fur. Their whole point is, look, this isn't inspiration. This is a copy. It's basically a digital counterfeit. So you gotta wonder, how can an AI even do that? How does it know precisely what Superman's crest or Scooby-Doo's collar looks like? Well, that brings us to Section 2, the machine's training data. It all comes down to what it was fed. Okay, think of it like this. To teach an AI to draw, you have to show it a ton of pictures. And I mean a ton. We're talking billions of images scraped from every corner of the internet. And here's the kicker. A huge chunk of that material, well, it's copyrighted stuff. And a lawsuit alleges nobody ever asked for permission to use it.
And this is where things get really wild. A concept artist, Reed Suthin, decided to test this out. He typed in a super specific prompt, Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie 2019, and boom, out comes a picture that's nearly a perfect copy of a still from the actual movie. For many, that was the smoking gun. It suggested the AI wasn't just learning about the Joker, it had basically memorized parts of the film.
So what did Midjourney do when this was pointed out? Did they look into it? Nope. Their response kind of poured gasoline on the fire. They reportedly banned the artist who found the problem, wiped his history, canceled his subscription, and then, get this, they updated their rules to basically say, hey, if you create something that breaks copyright law, that's on you, the user. Not a great look.
Okay, so this whole mess lands us right in the middle of a huge legal debate. Which brings us to Section 3, Copyright Law's Gray Zone. The big question is what these AI companies are doing even illegal? Well, it's complicated. All right, so there's one part of U.S. copyright law that's actually crystal clear. To get a copyright, a human being has to be involved in the creative process. The U.S. Copyright Office has been very firm on this. A machine can't be an author. So an image made 100% by AI with no creative human input, you can't copyright it, period. But you see, this lawsuit isn't really about who owns the final AI picture. It's about the stuff the AI learned from in the first place. And the AI companies have a defense for that. They argue that using all those copyrighted images to train their models is perfectly legal under a doctrine called fair use. Yeah, about that fair use argument, its foundation just got seriously shaken. A huge Supreme Court case involving Andy Warhol's art pretty much changed the game. Before, the big question was, is the new work transformative? Does it have a new message? But now, the court says the real question is, does your new thing compete commercially with the original thing and hurt its market? And for these AI companies, that changes everything. And of course, at the end of the day, this all comes down to money. A lot of money. Which brings us right to Section 4, a $1 billion problem. And listen, this isn't just a hypothetical problem. We've already seen how this can play out. Another AI company, Anthropic, was in a similar spot for using books to train its AI. The reported settlement? $1.5 billion, with a B. So yeah, the precedent for an absolutely massive payout is already there. And here's why those numbers can get so scary so fast.
Under U.S. law, the penalty for each copyrighted work that's willfully infringed can be up to $150,000. Now, just try to imagine Disney's or Warner Bros. Catalog. You multiply that number by potentially millions of images, and the potential damages are just astronomical. It's mind-boggling. So, with billions of dollars on the line and the future of creativity hanging in the balance, what's next? Where do we all go from here? Let's talk about the path forward in our final section.
Well, there's no single easy answer. This whole thing is really a war being fought on 4 different fronts at the same time. You've got these huge lawsuits working their way through the courts. You've got AI companies trying to change their own policies on the fly. Then you have artists fighting back with their own tech, like tools that can poison their images so AI can't learn from them. And finally, the government is starting to step in, considering new laws to force these companies to tell us exactly what's in their training data.
Ultimately, this case goes so far beyond just Superman or Scooby-Doo. It's forcing all of us to grapple with a really fundamental question for our time. As artificial intelligence learns from the entirety of human culture, all of our art, our music, our movies, who owns that knowledge? And who should have to pay for the machine's education?